Welcome back and thanks for joining me. I'm back out in the garden. It's time for me to start harvesting my garlic, and I made the decision when it came to the garlic to harvest at intervals. So I collected about 7 or 8 plants of garlic about 9 days prior. I wanted to come back out and collect another batch of garlic so that I could see what the difference in time, what effect it had on the size of the bulbs, if any. The types of garlic that I planted, which I don't know specifically which one I am pulling up here, were chestnut, Romanian, and Russian red. I lost the tags in the plant bed itself. They sunk down, so I don't remember where they exactly were. All of the varieties had about a 210-day maturity cycle, so I did collect the first 7 about 212 days. These I'm collecting around 220 days, and the last batch I'm going to collect closer to 230 days, just to see, does it affect size, does it affect quality, just so that I have an idea of next year when is a good time to pick my garlic out. But all of these bulbs have a nice size to them. There wasn't much issues that I saw after harvesting at this point. There were just 1 or 2 that I would pull up where it looked like the paper had separated from the actual cloves, so I ended up using that garlic immediately instead of drying. I decided to bring the camera in a little bit closer so that you can see exactly what I'm doing. So one of the recommendations with taking out garlic bulbs that I read up on was that to make sure the soil was dry. So I didn't water this when I pulled it up, and it was a lot easier than when I had pulled up the bulbs previous after watering. It did loosen from the soil. And all I'm doing is just digging down past where the bulb is actually exposed, then taking the trowel and lifting it. I'm not pulling on the stalk itself to get the bulb to come out of the soil. And I am just going to do that process again over here with this one. I'm scraping away the soil, getting the trowel up under the root and pulling, and it just releases from the soil pretty quickly. And I just continue to do that for the rest of them in this bed, and ultimately I pulled out about 11 pieces of garlic this time around. And then, like I said, I'm going to let the other ones sit another 7 to 10 days just to get a good range of dates where the garlic was harvested, to know for next season if I should wait immediately at time of harvest or should I give it additional days to mature and harden off a bit more. On some of these I also left the garlic scape on there throughout the full cycle instead of plucking them off just before they curled. This was just to see, does it make a difference in the size of the bulb? And really it didn't. The ones that I left on there were a variety where the bulbs were smaller anyway. All of them, whether they did have the scape or didn't, were just about the same size at the end of the harvest anyway. So you can take your scape off if you're going to use it, or you can leave the scape on there. The only thing is, the longer you leave the scape on there, the more chance that at some point it will. But I think that's if you go way past the harvest, because one of the ones that was indoors from around the 210-day mark, the scape started to flower. So I'm sure that probably steals some energy from bulb production at a certain point. Some of my first sunflowers finally began to bloom. These all have the red in the center of them, and the one in the back facing the wrong way is all yellow. Cucumber patch is taking off really well. Not a lot of flowers yet, but also not a lot of pollinators, but I'm anxious to get the pickling season started. Moving over to the larger gourd and squash area, I'm starting to get females showing up with the males, so I expect this to open up within the next 1 or 2 days. I'll probably have to hand pollinate, not many pollinators. And this is my royal golden. I'm calling attention to this because it looks like it needs nitrogen, but this is just what it looks like. So if you have a royal golden, don't fret. It's not in any trouble. That's just the color of it. Moving over to the second batch. So these are the tomatoes that I planted at the end of May, beginning of June. They're taking off, they're starting to set flowers, so I'm hopeful for fruit to be forming soon on these. And my biggest issue with tomatoes is maintaining those suckers. And over here are the sunflowers. This sunflower patch I'm not touching, and it is tall. My gate is 6 foot tall, so these are almost 6 foot tall, which is taller than me, and I am so surprised at how well these are doing. They're taller than the ones that I planted about 2 weeks earlier than these came up from the compost pile. Down here is some cilantro and dill that's self-seeded, as well as a sunflower down there that fell over and it hooked a turn and started to still grow upwards towards the sun. In the stall next to the sunflowers are the mystery gourds that are growing. The leaves are getting huge, so I'll see if I get any fruit off of these over here, but no maintenance really. And then this is the progress for the smaller gourds and melons that are on the main trellis. They're growing upward, but again, not a lot of flowers, but a lot of green growth. And moving over to the tomatoes, I have a wonderful looking black beauty. It'll be purple on everywhere that's really getting the sun, and then the bottom will turn red. And that's just the update in the garden. Thanks for sticking to the end. Please like and subscribe, and as always, thanks for watching.